Hello once again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of AIW's The Card is Going to Change. And before we get into this week's episode, of course, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors that help us bring the show to you for free on whichever podcast platform you choose to listen. Thanks to our new pizza sponsor and partner, the Great and Road Tavern. If you attended our live shows, you got to try their pizza. And maybe if you went and came to the unofficial hangout spot where some of us got to hang out afterwards on some of those nights, we went to the Great and Road Tavern. They've thus far been a great partner, and we look forward to more of that. So if you are in the Northeast Ohio area, check them out. And you probably remember them from the Queens of Hearts, I guess, lottery
Queen
game.
of Hearts.
I don't really know how to explain what it is. It's a card game, but it's like a lottery game.
You just buy you buy a card, but the jackpot is up to $1,611,425.
Wow.
The next drawing is May 26th, 2021. That is 9 days from now. And you can go to agreatandroadtavern.com and find out more information on how to maybe win $1 million.
Hey, that's not the only $1 million drawing on May 26th.
Well, there's the vaccine sweepstakes, of course, as everyone has been talking about Ohio for the last few days. So, I mean, multiple millions of dollars being given away on May the 26th, potentially. So, head over to greatandroadtavern.com, get your vaccine. Take your pick.
And of course, thanks to everybody from Thrift Store Jobber to Pollyanna DIY, to Sean Jaundice over Voodoo Monkey Tattoo, and I miss anything there? And then, of course, obviously, thanks to the merger between Smart Mark Video and IWTV, watching AIW has never been easier. If you sign up at independentwrestling.tv, don't forget, use the code ABSOLUTE. That way we get credit for you signing up. It's just $10 a month, and you get to watch hundreds, if not thousands, of hours available to you of independent wrestling, including AIW's Go for Broke, which airs on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. on IWTV. And if you go to smartmarkvideo.com, you can purchase any DVD or MP4 ever released by AIW. So that's pretty sweet there.
Yeah, we definitely need some money coming in. Circling back to Sean Jaundice, Voodoo Monkey Tattoo. A special shout out to him. He lost his dog later last week. Shout out to Scarlett, R.I.P. Hope you're doing okay, Sean.
Yeah, the pets are like family, man. That's tough. It's rough. So we roll into this week's episode. We'll talk about a hodgepodge of things, and of course, AIW owner John Thorne is here. My name is Steve Guy, your moderator of sorts, and we mentioned that passing, but I think the first thing we talk about that's fresh in everybody's minds, John, and you have some experience with this individual, ECW legend, original Newjack, passed away late last week.
That's that's crazy. Newjack was one of those people who, at one point, you just assumed was just immortal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Our Newjack interactions certainly well documented, especially early on in the podcast. When Biggins. I think it's episode 12. Newjack attacked my pocket. Many interactions with Newjack over the years. Probably, and I tweeted it like, anytime you're on that guy, it's like a lifetime of memories. Some good, some bad. Obviously everyone is really praising Newjack for the performer he was. Not the best guy to do business with sometimes, the last time that we had booked him, because he definitely pulled the old Southern let's bring it back for a rematch next month thing on the fly, and this is just into the first year of AIW, and like, what are you gonna do? Tell Newjack like, no, like you can't come back. Like he's like, when are you guys running a show again? And like, we told him and whatever. Then he gets out on the mic and he's just like, whatever the date was, like July the 26th. You want to see us do this again, Cleveland? And like, just like, oh fuck. Like he definitely like, kind of forced his hand and, got 2 bookings out of 1, which, that's just how those old timers used to do it, just, keeping the money coming in. But I'll never forget, like the last time he came in, which was, back in 2006, he only did the two shows before we kind of got hip to, it's for our probably personal safety to not continue to book this guy all the time. But I'll never forget, he was just like loading up his bag with AIW merch. Like, it was just like, what the fuck is he going to do with a bunch of AIW trucker hats? I don't know. He took like 10 of them, and it's just like, what does he need all this stuff for? I don't know. But it's just like, who's gonna tell him stop? Hey, Newjack, stop. Like we were a bunch of like 21, 22-year-old kids, like deathly terrified of Newjack. And we go, like I said, like throughout this podcast, we go into great detail on Newjack. Pedro and myself, and I think Eric Ryan was there. We all worked for Newjack in his short-lived promotion that he started in the Cincinnati area, which was a insane experience, to say the least. It was like in the worst neighborhood ever, in like a building that was falling apart. And, Newjack is just running around as the boss with, various weapons in his hand every time you saw him, whether it was like a machete or, his like weird Freddy Krueger glove thing. Just a terrifying individual, but also a really funny individual. And, he was climbing the charts as a person to potentially try to book again. I had talked to him back in 2019 about Wrestle Rager, because that was Worldwide's big guy. He wanted Newjack to come to Now That's Class, and we were very close to working out a deal. And then he double booked himself for the 2019 Wrestle Rager, and we had talked a few other times about maybe doing something. And it's kind of crazy because he was, we talked about the Sabu thing on the last podcast that we did. He was like really high on that list of surprise people, and he did the Mania weekend thing for ICW, and I thought like he wasn't looking too good, and a lot of people were like kind of people were kind of like making fun of him on Twitter a little bit for his performance in that match. And I was like, maybe we'll circle back to Newjack, and let people kind of get that out of their heads a little bit. Because, Natural Born Killers is always like a gigantic pop. And I don't know, it's crazy. Cause like I said, like there was never at any time did I think like, Newjack is not going to be around for when, we can circle back to this idea. And, even not in AIW, I've been around Newjack many times. I went to dinner with him and Corey Graves and Biggins before. That's how we like, I don't know if we probably talked about that on one of the podcasts, but that's how we like secured the deal for him to appear in AIW for the first time in 2006 anyway. He just was at Cleveland All Pro, wasn't even booked. He was just like there hanging out. We took him to dinner and at this like shitty diner that doesn't exist anymore. And he ordered the fisherman's platter. I think probably because it was the most expensive possible thing on the menu. And he knew that we were picking up the bill. But, just stuff like that. And when like he was involved in the Extreme Reunion shows that I did production work for back in the day, and I've been around Newjack like more times than I can probably remember. And, like I said, as much as there were good times, there were like scary times. Like Newjack was a lot better to be around if like you weren't the promoter. I'll say that, like it was a lot funner to be around Newjack when he wasn't like, looking for his money or, trying to, kind of scare you into booking him again. But, there were just like it was always a mixed bag with Newjack, and like I know a lot of people are saying a lot of great things about him. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him. I think that's probably what made him great is he was just a mixed bag at all times because he was a real person. And I mean, just it's crazy that he passed away. Fuck, man, like I remember going to ECW house shows at the Masonic Temple in downtown Cleveland, and like Wadsworth tweeted about this, like I'm like 14 years old and like I'm trying to like throw the X up, you know what I mean, because Newjack's coming to the ring, and like I tried to stand on, they had like movie theater type seats that like bend, like pull down or whatever and pull back up. And like I tried to like stand on that and like put the X up. I'm like all pumped because Newjack's coming out, and like my foot got stuck because like the seat like bent back up, my foot was like stuck, and I'm trying to put the X up and show my love for Newjack for his like first ECW appearance in the Cleveland area. But yeah, I don't know, it's crazy, and it's really crazy to think about. Like pretty soon, like there's not going to be too many of these guys left,
Well, he was only 58 years old, which was, I don't know, if both surprising and crazy to me. I mean, I honestly thought he was younger.
That's
what I was thinking too. Yeah, but 58 isn't that old. It's certainly up there in terms of, you talk about a guy who was just working matches. Like, all right, I don't know if you should be working at 58 and.
Well, that's the thing is like he would vanish for like what felt like years at a time, come back, work a couple matches, vanish, like, so that's the thing. It's like I didn't know how old he was, but like, when he just did this Mania weekend thing, like I don't think he had been like super active, like I talked to him in 2019, and that was, that's already 3 years ago. It wasn't like he was actively, working matches. I think he was doing more of like the occasional convention.
Yeah. And he was, I never got to meet him in person, so I don't have any stories. It's just,
it was like I said, it's a mixed bag. Sometimes it was the greatest day of your life, and sometimes it was like just the worst, most terrifying day of your life.
And you see a lot of that as you look through people's stuff on social media. It's funny because you said, he's great if you're just somebody who's hanging out there at the shows, but not if you're a promoter. And the most people who are like, oh, this is amazing Newjack stories, and he's so sweet and so great to me. It's like, oh, these are all workers and people who were just on the shows, so they didn't have to necessarily worry about paying. But he certainly was a guy where, I wasn't like an avid ECW watcher, but back then, when it popped on, like
everybody knew who he was, though.
Yeah, and you also knew that as crazy as ECW was, when Natural Born Killers hit and Newjack comes out, you're like, oh, this is going to pick up even more now. Like it somehow just got crazier.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Like to me, like he was pretty much the epitome of ECW. Like, that's how I discovered ECW. I discovered it like super late, probably in like 1997, I think, and. Just flipping through the channels, like, staying up late on the weekends, and, parents are asleep and I'm watching TV, and I came across Sports Channel, and I'll never forget, he's like coming to the ring with like a kitchen sink, and I'm like, what is this? And I had like not been paying too much attention to wrestling at that point. Like I took like a year and a half, 2 years off, and like seeing that, I was like, holy shit, and like it was Newjack. He comes out and he beats up the Dudleys on some episode of Hardcore TV that was airing on Sports Channel. And that's when I start talking to Wadsworth, and I'm like, what is ECW? Like, what is this? And, it totally brought me back into wrestling, and essentially, that's what leads to me, like, becoming a promoter, essentially. Like, if you really wanted to, like, go back to, like, a point in time that was, like, pivotal is, like, I had, like, given up on, like, WWF pretty much, and, like, I was just, like, not, like, almost like felt like had outgrown like being a wrestling fan, and I wasn't paying too much attention to it anymore, and like seeing Newjack come out with a kitchen sink like totally sucked me back in. And from that moment on, I'm just like it goes from like that to like I go to Wadsworth's house when I'm like, 13 or 14, and he's got like, Nitro on, and like Mr. Perfect is on, and I don't know, it pulled me right back in like 1997, and I never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, he's if nothing else, he's a storied man that people will continue to have stories about for years and years to come. He's an ECW original, but he's an original. There will not be another Newjack.
Oh no, especially nowadays, and like it's really crazy that like this dude like legit tried to kill multiple people in the act of being a pro wrestler, and like everyone's just like, yeah, man, Newjack's the greatest. Like, imagine if like a guy in modern times did, you know what I mean? Like. I guess it's modern times that he did it, but like, like a guy from this, imagine like a guy from this era, like just like stabbing somebody in the ring. Like, I don't know if he would be a celebrated performer. That's what's like so weird about like Newjack and just people from that, previous generation of wrestlers. It's just like, I don't know. It's crazy to think about, like, I mean, everyone's watched, the Dark Side of the Ring or the different, just fucking, documentaries and stories on Newjack. And it's just, it's crazy that like, A, he did those things, B, he never went to prison, and like, C, like everyone's just like, man, Newjack is a fucking god,
Yeah. It's just like, Newjack's gonna Newjack, and then it was left at that. You're like, nobody. He just fucking tried to kill a guy. Newjack's gonna Newjack. Like, what?
And like he was really really climbing the charts of, we'll probably get into this a little bit on this episode, but it's just like let's get some like scary guys in the locker room again, and like some of these like students, and like I don't know, like they just think it's like a fucking like goof off time, like and it's just like not that long ago, 15, 20 years ago, guys like Newjack and Tommy Rich were like in Tracy Smothers, who wasn't that scary, but still was capable of being quite scary. Just these old, like grizzled, like men, like just like, I don't know, like I was just like, I really wanted to just, I've had my share of Newjack in my lifetime, but then I started thinking like, maybe it's time to like inject some Newjack into the current AIW locker room and just like let guys know like, hey, like stop fucking around so much. Like this is like what wrestlers used to be like, and it used to be like a really scary place. So, like, let's just fucking, like, I don't know, just kind of like a reality check or something. Like, because nothing makes me mad is, like, when people are just, like, fucking off in the locker room. I just wanted to just dabble a little bit of fear into them.
Yeah, well, like, things needed to be improved upon in terms of conditions and situations in the world of pro wrestling. There still is, like, that level of thought where, like, okay, did this get too cushy? And it's like, you should still take this seriously because you're still trying to do this as a profession, and there's still some crazy shit.
I don't know.
Newjack would have made it a lot more serious.
It's probably the totally wrong mindset, but like it is the mindset that led to me booking Tommy Rich. I'll tell you that much. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, but you mentioned Dark Side of the Ring with Newjack, but let's talk about the most recent episode that aired, because people are going to want to hear us say it because, well, A, you were supposed to be in it, but it also was about a guy who's been a main player in AIW for years, in Nick Gage. And you sat down and watched it finally, right?
I did watch it. Yeah, so I didn't watch it when it premiered because I did film for it, and I absolutely hate seeing myself in any capacity on video. Like, I don't know. I like hate watching myself do anything. And so I did not watch it. And I wanted to wait until the event if I did not make it in the episode before I watched it, which I did not make it in the episode. And I don't think like what I added, compared to the story they presented really would have meshed well anyway. But I did film for it. I did, I sat down and I did they talked to me for like 2 or 3 hours. Like, it was pretty intense. And yeah, I thought that the episode turned out well. Like, the thing is like the Nick Gage story though, like that could have easily been a 2 or 3 parter.
Yeah.
It seems like it almost seemed rushed because they just went like boom, boom, boom. And it was still a great episode, don't get me wrong. But there's just like so much more to all of that happened, as well as his kind of like redemption story that I think was a little glossed over. And, there could have been a lot more depth put in there. But, still a great episode. I'm pretty happy that I didn't make it in the episode. I'm not gonna lie, like, because I don't know. I like after the fact, like I was just like, it's like cool when you're in the moment, you're doing it, but then it's just like, man, I don't like. You start thinking about like everything that you said and like how it could be taken out of context and or just in general, like. And I was just like, I don't know. I was just like riddled with anxiety. Like, am I going to be on this or am I not going to be on this? And I'm happy that I did it, but also happy that I was not in the final sort of render of whatever it was. But shout out to David Bixenspan who like set that whole thing up for me. I don't know how he did it, but he was the reason why they reached out to me. And still got paid, so much like Johnny Drama, a little upset my scenes got cut, but I still got the check. So, that's all you can really ask for, right?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you're right. There's so much more to that Nick Gage story, but this is how television works, right? It's slated for an hour-long time spot, so you can only put so much. And while we love and adore Nick Gage, which is a weird phrase to say, I realize that, but independent wrestling fans do, a larger, broader audience, it stands to reason, still don't necessarily know who he is. So it's like, all right, is there value in putting him on 2 episodes? There's a lot to balance with there.
Right, and I don't know. AIW is certainly a good part of that at least beginning of the redemption story. But I don't know that we were also I guess imperative to tell that story. You know what I mean? Like based on how the episode goes, like they really stick to a very kind of concise story. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that kind of spider webbing off to like where Nick got out of prison and he went to this place and this place and this place and this happened and this happened and this happened. Like I don't know that I don't know that it was necessary. It was necessary for the story to be told. I do like the only thing that I thought maybe would have added to it is like the fact that like when he did get out of prison, like he used to have to clear. I know at least for AIW, he would have to like clear the dates with the parole officer, and we would have to give him like we'd have to give the dates like 30 days or something in advance at least. And there was all these kind of different little things that he had to do when he got out the first time before he went back. And stuff like that I thought maybe people would have thought was interesting. That was kind of more of the stuff that I was interviewed about, but they kind of strayed away from that. I don't even know if I signed so much paperwork, I don't even know if I'm allowed to be saying this stuff, to be honest. I didn't read it. But
we should shy away. But I mean, some of it is just factual stuff as it pertains to AIW. I mean, the story that they were telling was very kind of linear in a sense, and you're right. It made sense. Like, don't spiderweb off of it because you've only got this short
and I mean,
window of time to get all this in. And of course, they wanted to talk about David Arquette because that is going to bring in eyeballs.
Right, and I love Nick Gage. I honestly wish him nothing but success. I hope that Tony Khan or somebody watches that and says, like, this guy is money, and signs him to a contract and he makes $1 million, because I mean he definitely deserves it. And he is kind of in my opinion, like, Nick Gage is kind of proof that as broken as the system is, or whatever you want to say about how the legal system works and all that stuff, like, I think he is a proof that it can work as well. I mean, he definitely came out a better person than he went in, and I definitely think that that is the story. That is really the story of Nick Gage, is coming out kind of on the other end, and turning it into this success, and continuing to ride it. He definitely rehabilitated himself, and we didn't get into the Nick Gage business until post prison, so I've only I was around him prior to going in, but we never did business until afterwards, and like, he's always been amazing to deal with, and is kind of the rough, tough exterior that is there. Like, he is deep down, if you can break through it all, he's a really kind of good man of his word type of guy, like a real kind of man's man of like, and he's a loyal guy, and he means the best, but like he says in the Darkside of the Ring, a lot of those problems are hard to run from, and he is definitely a guy that goes day to day, trying to continue on, but I think that he is deep down, like, one of the most genuine, he's the most genuine people that I've ever dealt with.
Yeah, he's I mean, he's great. I know, like, it's so weird because I know that we're breaking the wall down a little bit when we say, oh, he's this great guy. I mean, he really is, and he's so kind and genuine to be around in that locker room, and caring about what everybody else is doing. And when he's got a moment, hey, he'll watch matches and he'll talk to guys, and it means the world to a lot of people when he does that. And I think people forget that, sure, Nick is this really great deathmatch wrestler, but he could wrestle too. That's kind of the story with the whole Arquette thing, is Nick thought they were just going to have a regular wrestling match, and it's Arquette who wanted to have a death match. But to bring it back to AIW, and you're talking about getting into the business, there are so many great AIW Nick Gage stories and things coming to, Tim Donst makes his return, and the person he wants to face is Nick Gage, and that's a huge moment. That becomes Absolution 10, right? And that's one of the big storylines there.
Well, that's not how it. So how it happened is Tim Donst announces that he is returning to wrestling, and Nick Gage ran in. He came out and kind of cut like a pretty vicious promo about how if cancer didn't kill him, but he's gonna kill him, and like just a very simple story, and like the crowd was just red hot, and I believe so. I think Gage does the J-Lit, he does Absolution 10, and then he was supposed to wrestle Bob Holly, and he went back in. He was only out for a couple months. Yeah. But the thing that is great about Nick Gage is, and I think maybe he appreciates it, maybe he doesn't, but we don't always put him in a death match. We put him in different situations to wrestle people. And, also, we put him in there with younger guys like Wes Barkley and, Josh Bishop, and he's been in there with Manders before, and we put him in with different people to kind of raise their stock. And he wrestled AJ Gray for the first time in AIW, like all these different people. And I think that, he really likes kind of being put in that different environment for him, and like appreciates that, we trust him to kind of help bring guys along and, bring them up. And, he's, like I said, he is a genuine guy. And I think he really appreciates kind of, the different kind of, I guess, obstacles thrown at him, no matter what it is. And I really hope that that guy signs a contract one day and becomes a millionaire, because like Moxley says in the thing, like he has the intangible of connecting with the crowd that so many people cannot figure out how to do. And I really do. I really hope, even if that means that we can never book him again, I don't care, because he deserves to make money and be a success.
Yeah, it's similar different, but similar to kind of how we all rooted for Eddie to get signed by someone, right? Like
very similar.
Nick is that next guy.
Similar stories, but different stories at the same time. Like just long time kind of journeyman type of wrestlers, but much different in the outside of the ring things, you know what I mean? But very similar, very kind of I don't know, like troubled souls in a lot of ways, both of those guys, but really really just men of their word and genuine guys all at the same time. It's and I did try to get Nick to the comeback shows, and there was a lot going on with his ability to travel at the time for those shows, and he had GCW that Saturday, so we weren't able to work anything out for those two shows. But the hope is as we come up with more dates, and we kind of start working our schedule out, that Nick Gage will be able to return to AIW sooner rather than later is the hope. But obviously, as we only have one date really as of right now, there's nothing kind of set in stone.
Although he did lay a challenge out for that show. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, it was a cameo that was requested by Justin Summers.
Justin Summers said, Justin Summers, an AIW Patreon subscriber, so he's in the AIW Discord. He made mention in the Discord that he did not ask him to say anything about a match, and that was all Nick Gage, which I believe. If you go back to multiple times where we've had Nick Gage cut promos and he gets excited and then he takes it a step further, like when a couple of years ago to Absolution, he was just supposed to have a normal wrestling match, and suddenly he turned it into a death match via promo.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. I mean, as of now, Nick Gage is not booked for the 18th, but I'll text him when we're, and I'll see what the situation is, because like I know, he's the GCW champion. They have a show in the middle of like fucking nowhere the next day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I've not really booked any people that may cross over onto that show until they tell me like they're on it or they're not on it, sort of thing. Because I can't imagine that Wyoming, wherever the fuck, is a direct flight from anywhere in the world. So no disrespect to anybody listening out in Wyoming, but it just is what it is. So and I'm still easing back into things. Like we're only doing 100 tickets. So it's not like let's load up the fucking
right
talent roster, because we're gonna draw any more tickets. You know what I mean? Like when Nick Gage returns to AIW, that will probably be a big deal. I think maybe the AIW fans got a little too comfortable, with him just being on the roster, you know what I mean? And the expectation was he was always going to be there. I would like, when he returns to AIW, for it to be a big deal, and hopefully it's when things can open up a little more, which technically they can in June, but we're still gonna kind of ease into things.
Yeah, we'll be smart about it. We'll be safe about it. And let me end with this AIW Nick Gage factoid. He's been the absolute champ, has not been the intense champion, but when he does return, PME maybe should be on notice, because did you know, John Thorne, that Nick Gage is part of an undefeated tag team at AIW?
Him and Tom Lawler.
That's right. The random pairing of Tom Lawler and Nick Gage, undefeated as a tag team in multiple matches.
Murder, death, filth gang.
There you go. But let's see,
before
we get off into something else. Or
we've already gotten off into so
we
much.
Have.
We're definitely not going to get to cover the fucking. Is this something you might be interested in? Show
we're not
almost 40 minutes in.
We're not going to be able to, but I want to at least cover one aspect of that show, which you talked about earlier and said that we would get to, so we might as well just get to it. That's Tommy Rich coming into AIW. What a blast.
A real gem. He's a real fucking gem. That's what I'll say. I don't know why I had this idea. I just kept I'm not saying any disrespect to Tommy Rich, but it was totally a thing that was just I thought was funny in my head for some reason. I don't know why. And I had I found his Facebook, and he's just cutting promos about going to fish restaurants and stuff, and don't plugging just local restaurants, and I'm just I don't know, and it goes back to we need somebody like this guy to just pop into the locker room and just just scared the Arthur MacArthurs of the world straight into the wow, this is what wrestling is really because everyone, I said, everyone just has fun, and it's haha, we're all having a good time, okay, see everybody later. And I was just when I was coming up in wrestling, and Josh Prohibition has mentioned this before, there was just a bunch of just scary men in the locker room, just drinking and telling stories and being crazy. And I want to just dabble a little bit of that back into the AIW locker room, just a little bit. And I reached out to Tommy Rich, on Facebook, and then I asked Guido and Fonzie for his number. I sent him some text messages. Nothing. I think he has a Facebook page as well. I sent that a message, and I think that's what responded to me. And then he asked to call me, and he called me, and we work out a deal for a singles match, and he wants to do a tag, but I say I want to do him and Mance, and I just think that would be the perfect matchup. So we work out a deal. It's going to be a brawl, whatever. My thought is Tommy Rich, Mance can make him look good. Tommy Rich, does one table or door spot and people are going to go crazy. So anyway, we worked the deal out, so it's whatever. And on Thursday, the whole Sabu thing has happened, and my phone rings, and and I'm going to tell this story, and I by no means mean for it to bury Tommy Rich at all. I just want to preface it with that. But my phone rings, and it's just now, I haven't been around him for a couple weeks, but when I was coming out of that weekend, my Tommy Rich impression was pretty good because I talked to him a lot.
Everybody kind of had their own accent. Yeah, go ahead.
And just hey, John, Tommy Wildfire Rich. I say, hey, Tommy, what's going on? I was just touching base, make sure everything's good for tomorrow. I said, yeah. What am I doing? I said, well, I'm going to have you work with this guy, Mance Warner. You worked with him before. You guys, do a little brawl, whatever. And then, I'm going to have him go over, and then, we'll do the meet and greet with him. And then there's like what feels like an eternity of silence. It's probably 30 seconds of nothing. And then, but it felt like forever. And he goes, oh, I know I do no job. I don't do jobs. I don't do that. I didn't know I was doing no job. I don't do jobs. And John, I don't think I'm going to be starting tomorrow. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I didn't know I was doing no job. I ain't starting tomorrow. And like, I thought it was just like such a killer line. Like, I don't do jobs, and I'm certainly not starting tomorrow. Like, Tommy Rich has definitely lost many times in his career. But the fact that he said it that way, I was just like, what do you say to that? Like, it was just such a killer line. I was like, okay, I was just like, okay, Tommy, we'll figure it out. He's just like, are you sure? I don't want there to be no problem. And, I want to make sure, before I get on the plane. And I was just like, yeah, Tommy, we'll figure it out. We'll do like a schmaz or something. And then I get off the phone and he texts me, and it's like a written contract almost, like, I want to make sure that I'm getting this for this much. I'm not losing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, whatever, like, this is tomorrow. I'm worrying about today. Sabu is not coming. I'm trying to figure that whole thing out. But anyway, like, Hornswoggle ends up going to the ER anyway, like,
yeah.
And he is supposed to wrestle. He's supposed to wrestle the next night, and we had like this whole 6-man tag kind of built around him set up, and he's out. So I literally woke up Friday morning and I just rebooked the whole show. Like I just rebooked everything and moved all these different things around, and that's how I came up with the 6-man tag, and that way. Tommy was able to, he didn't have to lose, and it actually worked out better anyway, like now, like looking back, it was a much better it was a much better match and presentation and spot for Tommy Rich than if him and Mance would have did a singles match anyway. But like, I just thought it was so funny. It's just like, hey, I don't do no jobs. I ain't starting tomorrow. And I was just like, okay, like, what the fuck are we getting into? Like, and it was kind of like my own, kind of like a taste of my own medicine. Like, I wanted to put this scary old timer back into the locker room, and he's doing scary old timer stuff to me. You know what I mean? Like,
but then he ends up being super nice in the locker room.
So like, he got there, and we talk, and hey. I just want to make sure everything's cool. We cool. And I said, Tommy, I'm gonna, I'm changing everything up. It's fine. Well, he gets a little like, like not cold feet about it, but like, I just want to make sure, I don't mean to, cause you any, problems and, all this other stuff. And, and I will say that phone call on Thursday though, and he said, and will I have a problem getting my money before I wrestle? So he wanted to make sure he was paid, probably in case we tried to screw him or anything.
Well, what I was going to say too is, having met him and spent some time with him now that day, at first, my first thought is like, all right, is he just fucking with you? But he's probably not, and the fact that like he has never been to AIW.
Right, and
there's a feeling out
he's,
process. Yeah,
he's probably been screwed by a zillion times in his career.
Exactly,
and I get that, but it is what it is, and sometimes if it's somebody else, like I say, hey, don't even fucking come, and maybe if Sabu would have showed up and I wasn't in such like a, just kind of like fixer mode, maybe I would have told Tommy Rich to fuck off and not get on the plane. But I'm glad that I didn't. I'll say that much, because I mean, he turns out to, like, he was such a blast to be around, like a real gem. And so everything, all the big surprises for Friday show up. So I am in a much better mood than I was on Thursday. And I grab a drink, like before the show even starts, because I'm just like, okay, like it's, we're sold out. Everyone's here. It's cruise control. You know what I mean? Like what else can go wrong? And I walk into the locker room, and the documentary crew was there again for these shows, like a much smaller crew, but they're there filming stuff. And Tommy Rich is given an interview to the documentary. And I'm just like, oh man, like he's just fucking falling right into everything AIW, and he's drinking, but he sees me and he thinks like maybe he's in trouble. You know what I mean? And he puts the beer down like real quick. Like he tries to be like real slick about it and put the beer down, like thinking like I'm going to be pissed. Cause he's not jobbing, and now he's drinking before he performs, because, things are a little, things are much different these days, probably, especially for guys like him, than they used to be, to where, they probably got drunk before they wrestled for fucking 30 straight years. But now, you do that in the wrong place, and it's fucking, like a murder charge. You know what I mean? You're called out on the carpet. And so he like puts the fucking beer down, but I have a drink in my hand, and I go, cheers, Tommy. I'm looking forward to everything tonight. And I cheers his drink. And I think at that point, like we kind of have like a moment of like respect. You know what I mean? Yeah. And from, he goes back to talking to the documentary, and I leave him be, and then I start kind of going, like, he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, John, are you really running in on our match tonight?" And I said, "What? I heard you're running in." He goes, are you running in on me?" And I said, "No." I said, "Tommy, as long as you get the fucking blade out, I'll get the blade out. We'll do some double color." And he's, "Oh shit, you're gonna get some color? You're gonna get some color in there with Wildfire tonight?" And I said, "Whatever you want, sir." I said, I'm ready to do whatever you want to do, Wildfire." He's like, "Oh shit, promoter's gonna get some color tonight, guys." And he's just laughing and like hugging me and having a great time. And he now by this time, the beer count is like the empty beer bottles next to him is at least a 12 pack.
There's a picture. Yeah. I think it was like 15 were sitting in that picture, which they weren't all his necessarily, but whatever.
But that's like match one is on, like it's not like we're through the show. And, I come back through, and he's getting ready, and he's in the bathroom door's out, and he's like, "Hey, John," he says something to me, and I say something, like I'm having a conversation with him. He was like looking in the mirror in the bathroom or whatever, he was fixing his hair, and he says something, and he just like whips his dick out and just like starts pissing mid conversation while like whatever we were talking about, and I was just like, okay, like he's just pissing right now. And I'm like, okay, all right. Like I try not to laugh, because it's just like he has like it's like the old man in the locker room, like the gym locker room, like walking around naked. Like he has no fucking qualms about just like whipping his dick out and just pissing mid conversation. And it wasn't like his back was turned to me or anything. Like it was like just like dead on. Like, okay, all right, John, we're gonna do good for you tonight. And he's just like starts pissing. So I'm like, all right. And then, he goes out, and he has, they do the match, and it's a lot of fun. And, he's just like, what was great, and which was really kind of the intention is he is just like holding court in the locker room. And like, everyone is showing him respect, and, he's just telling old stories. And, there were guys like Mance Warner and Eddie Kingston who are probably a little bit more historically knowledgeable than some of like the younger AIW students. Yeah. So like everyone is like bringing stuff up to him and asking him questions, and he's having a really good time. And all this other stuff happened, but we'll fast forward to the after party where I'm just like buying him drinks and everyone's buying him drinks, and he's kind of like set up next to me, and he like pays me like what I feel is the greatest compliment that AIW's ever received. And he goes, "Hey John, this is how wrestling used to be." He goes, "I ain't felt like this since I've been in ECW, and that's no bullshit. Like, all the boys were out, we're having fun, we're drinking beers, we're talking about the business. Everyone in your locker room was so respectful to me." And I was just like, man, that's the greatest compliment I've ever received, because this guy's been everywhere, and like I think he felt good to be around a bunch of young guys and girls, you know what I mean? And like we're at the bar, we're drinking, we're laughing, we're having fun. Everyone is aware of him and aware of his history. And he told me, he's like, sometimes I go in locker rooms and like nobody even knows who the fuck I am, nobody talks to me. The only person that knows who I am there is the promoter, and that's it. And I go home. He's like, everyone was so respectful to me, and he was just like in all of his glory, like just having a great night. And we sat, and he was JT Lightning's favorite wrestler, and JT brought him in countless times. So we we sat at the bar, and we told JT Lightning stories, and ECW stories, and all this stuff. And now we'll go to like kind of some of the crazier stories at the after party, which I heard secondhand. Was he was just walking up to fans that were in the bar, and he'd go, "Hey, you look like you got some mushrooms. You got any mushrooms?" And like, no. He's like, "Fuck, I'm trying to trip. Anybody that's got some mushrooms? I'm trying to get some psychedelics." And just like, listen, I'm not trying to put Tommy Rich's business out there, but I think everyone is aware of Tommy Rich at this point. But just stuff like that, to where he's just like, and he's laughing and telling great stories, and allegedly he has to fan that. I'll say that, allegedly, but I heard it from a pretty reliable source. But
he also it was brought up that a certain talent wanted some weed, didn't have any, and somebody else like, "Oh yeah, I can grab some. I can go home between shows and get you some for the after party or whatever." And Tommy Rich is sitting there when this conversation happens. "Oh, you got weed? You bring some for me. Make sure I have some weed too." He's like, yeah, no problem. And leaving, and throughout the show, Tommy kept hounding this dude about it. Dude's about to go out for his match, and Tommy Rich catches him. It's like, "Hey man, you get that weed yet?" And he's like, no, not yet, Tommy. He's like, "Oh, we all right. Well, you gonna have it soon, do you think?" And he's like, "I'm about to go out to the ring right now, Tommy. Give me a minute." And then he walks in the after party. They're like, "Dude, you gotta go this way. You gotta go in this door, because you can't walk by Tommy if you don't have that weed out here yet. Give it to him." And it's this whole thing. Tommy just wants to smoke, and I mean, he was just living. He was just having like the night of his life. It felt like fits into AIW so perfectly. And I'll say this for people who are like, "Oh, I really liked the 8-man that it ended up being," but people are like, that moment with him and Mansoor was so special. I do kind of wish it was just him and Mansoor. Just a reminder: Tommy Rich will be 65 years old in July. So like, I don't know that you have gotten the singles match you thought you were going to get, but this was still a lot of fun. Doing it this way, and he was just, man, he was so fun to just be around. And I think that because last episode we talked about the list of people that we had to read off, which of course included Tracy Smothers, and this is kind of like a nice little tribute to with our time with Tracy, that like one of our first matches back, and here we have Tommy Rich, member of the FBI. With us.
And it was a great experience. So now that opens up the door to do Guido and Tommy Rich and do FBI tags and things like that. But it was really this is just what AIW is all about. It's not about having the best match, or the greatest technical, exhibitions or the greatest high flyers. It's about these weird moments, and just it was fun. And and it's not only fun for the people that watched it. Obviously Tommy Rich is not the NWA champion caliber, in the ring anymore. It's just he's older, but it was still fun, and it's still a memorable thing, and everyone I think really enjoyed it. And for us, to get us all back into the mode, you know what I mean? Because before, that's just what we do is, we would have, if it's not a show with a Tracy talking shop or, a little Guido in town or, some and if you go back, we hit just towards the, our end run before the pandemic, you got Scott Hall and Too Cold Scorpio and, Kevin Nash and I think Ted DiBiase and all, you know what I mean? All these legends, back to back to back to where we can sit and talk and, get these kind of moments for us in the back of the curtain. But, it also provides great moments for the people in the crowd as well. But for me, sitting at a bar for hours with Tommy Rich and, he was so Nick Sanka and his girlfriend are there and he's joking with them he knows that they don't know who fucking Tommy Rich is. You know what I mean? They don't know anything about Tommy Rich or they just know AIW and WWE, but he's having as fun a time with them as he is talking to Mance or talking to Duke, you know what I mean, or Eddie Kingston. And, he was just such a great guy to be around. And, and that's why I wanted to preface that story about how he's I ain't doing no jobs. I wanted to preface that, that it was in no way to bury him because I do understand where he was coming from. And I think, now that he was around us and, if we bring him back again, he would be a lot easier to kind of work things out like that if we needed to work it out. But, and every single person that was there has a Tommy Rich story. And that's kind of what I was going for with, having this old time veteran type of presence in the locker room is, and not necessarily scary, that's just kind of a vague term to, describe some of these, old time guys, but it's just a unique experience, for everybody that was in the locker room. Everybody has a Tommy Rich story now that was on that show because he talked and he struck up conversation with everybody and he was ribbing everybody in the locker room and, just having a great time. And I think, it was just a great kind of, it was a great experience for him, much like it was for us. It was very much like a exchange of business, so to speak, in the fact that as much as we needed it, I think that he definitely needed it. Needed a night like that as well because this is a guy, and I'm not saying AIW is the highest of highs, but this guy is he was a big time player, in the 80s and. He kind of started to descend a little bit into the 90s and beyond. But, for him to kind of have a night like that where he is, kind of in the limelight and everyone is paying him respect again, I think was something that he really enjoyed as well.
Yeah, what's funny about him being at the top when he was and everything, but so when I go ask him, I go, Tommy, what do you want me to say when I introduce you and bring you out? Oh, Atlanta, Georgia, and Tommy Wildfire Rich, and that's it. Nothing. You don't want anything else. No accolades or anything. No, I'm good. And he's, well, I was NWA World's Champion. I guess you should probably say that. I guess that's a kind of a big deal. Like, yeah.
And, like I don't know, like, and obviously not everyone in the crowd even knew who the fuck he was, and like the people that did, and like,
Yeah.
I think they really appreciated that, and I think that stuff is what makes AIW so unique. Like, we're not the only place that books legends. I'm not saying any of that, but like the way that we try to use them and try to kind of make it mean more than an autograph signing when we do come across those guys that will wrestle. For the people that get it, they really, really get it. And, the people that don't, there's a whole bunch of people that are going, wow, who is Tommy Rich? And are looking him up. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the same for me. Like, I knew Tommy Rich from ECW. I didn't know anything about him, in the NWA in the 80s. I knew nothing when I was a teenager other than he was the Big Don. But, I don't know. It just felt like, okay, like, we are back, like there were multiple moments throughout the weekend where it felt like that, but like Tommy Rich, just like we could sit here and I won't even remember all of the interactions that I had with Tommy Rich in that few short hours, because they were plentiful, and he was just laughing and, hugging and is just cracking up, about everything and telling great stories. And, I listen, like, I'm not saying everyone should book Tommy Rich. You're not going to get whatever you know of Tommy Rich, you're not going to get that. But what I will say is you should book Tommy Rich because he was great to be around. He was definitely just a blast in the locker room. And, he really like was a gigantic kind of morale booster, I think, for everyone, just because he was so happy to be there and like so happy that people knew who he was still. And, because that is hard for guys like that were, at the top and, have kind of, faded a little bit. And, I'm sure that's a hard thing to deal with. And I think, he was just so happy that people were paying him proper respect, and he was, like I said, he was just a gem, from the whipping his dick out to like not wanting a job to asking for mushrooms to like, and this guy, I'm not shitting you. Like, he put down at least a 12 pack before he wrestled. He continued to drink after he wrestled. And at one point I bought him 8 beers. And he drank every fucking single one of them. So, like, I don't, like, and he at no point seemed under the influence of anything.
Yeah.
At all. And legendary.
That's
it was
so
like,
true.
It was it was like, I'm telling you, like, he drank minimum of 40 beers. And, like, I felt like Tommy Rich could drive me home, like, it was just that kind of, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think anybody, if you're looking for a weird autograph signing, bring in Tommy Rich, and just fucking buckle in and go along for the ride, because, it's going to be a memorable day in your life. I'll say that. And I totally plan on bringing Tommy Rich back, whether it's when we go to Akron again or, Tommy Rich is definitely going to be, that semi-regular, every couple of years, or, like a couple times a year guy, like we do with Guido or something, because it's just, it's just fun. And maybe that's selfish of me, that, we're going to purposely put out not the greatest match, but like, it doesn't, like, it's fun. And it's so much, I don't know, like, it creates so much more kind of than a good match, in my opinion. Like, and I think any fans that did the meet and greet or were at the after party, because it wasn't an official after party, only a few people were kind of hanging around the Great and Road Tavern, like, but those people that were, I think they all fucking appreciated being around Tommy Rich, and have far more to remember than a good match.
Yeah, Tommy Rich was great. At one point, you were at the bar, and he said the same thing to me about this is what wrestling used to be like. But I remember at one point he was just kind of chilling by himself at a table, and I looked at I don't remember who I was standing with, some of the younger guys. I was like, hey, why the hell is Tommy Rich sitting by himself? And I went over there and started talking to him and made sure he wasn't just being left alone. Tommy, you having a good time? And, oh, yeah, I was just talking to somebody, and he asked me if I want to go over to the bar and grab some more drinks. He's like, I have no come back here. I just want to sit down. I said, I'm just taking it all in. This is how wrestling used to be. And I just wanted to sit here and just kind of watch everybody have fun and interact, and man, this is cool. This is how it was. And sitting there like, all right, cool. Like he just wanted to literally sit back and just watch. It was a neat, unique moment where, like, being a part on the office side of AIW, you could sit here and you see an older veteran like that be able to want to sit back and have this feeling like, all right, wrestling's in good hands. Like it felt like that.
Well, that's and I don't want to say that, but I feel like that's what he thought. Like the wrestling business is still the wrestling business, and wrestling's gonna be okay. Like,
yeah,
because he really was kind of in that. Like, he was almost like a fan looking on at the after party, and like he did like take those moments, and like I think he felt like, okay, like the business that I was in still exists in some pockets of the world. Because, he's not a dummy. He knows that the world and society and everything has kind of changed quite a bit from his time. And, the AIW After Party is by no means the wildest fucking place on earth,
Not
but
anymore,
I think he just liked, that all the boys were in the bar, talking the business, having a good time, drinking beers. And, like, I think he just liked that was a thing that still happened. And it was the highest compliment I've probably ever received from any legend type guy, that he said this is what wrestling used to be like. And that's what more could you ask for? And then I'm sure Tommy Rich, after he said that, he went into the parking lot and said, hey, who's got some weed? And started shaking some fans down. I'm sure, like I'm sure of it. And he just he's a fucking gem. I cannot stress enough, like, just if you have any means to book Tommy Rich, just do it just for the fucking story. It's worth it. And I assure you, it is not that, I mean, it's not that expensive. I'll say that. He's by no means the most expensive legend that you can book. He's not the cheapest, but it is definitely worth your time. I'll say that.
Oh, that's a great place to end this. We're not going to get to the rest of that show, folks. We'll talk about it at some point, I promise. But there were things worth discussing
I'll
here.
do no job. I ain't starting tomorrow.
I do think, I will say this: you bring Tommy Rich back, it's probably worthwhile, and maybe it's a scenario where we have to have like Mance or somebody sit down with us. But there should probably be a Tommy Rich involved podcast.
Oh yeah, and I think as things open up and as the I'm not gonna lie, I just got like one of those gigantic calendars, so I can start trying to kind of map out dates, But like as things open up and we have more opportunities to do shows, Tommy Rich is definitely going to be a guy that it's like, hey, Tommy, why don't you come in a day early, sort of thing, And, we do have some irons in the fire for things happening over the summer. Nothing, obviously nothing is set. But, Ohio has announced that they will lift all capacity issues June 2nd. We are still going to abide by them for June 18th. We'll open up some tickets to people on the waiting list. Not going to get crazy. And, we'll see where things go. I still think that we're going to do some limited capacity stuff for a while until things like really trend down and, kind of everything seems to be headed in the right direction. But we do have some irons in the fires for maybe some outdoor shows or some, like festival type deals have been kind of in negotiations with us a little bit, because everyone is looking for entertainment and special things now, because it's gonna go from 0 to like 100 coming up now, with different, everyone trying to kind of catch up and make money for, everything that was lost out on during COVID. So we're definitely, open for business, so to speak, and trying to set more things up, and, also set up, more dates at the Odeon, and, figure out a time to go back to the Tadmor Shrine. And, we're kind of working on possibly like a smaller series of shows that happen at the Winchester. And, we got a lot of things, rolling around, but, nothing has been like a for sure thing just yet.
Yeah, it's exactly. So keep glued to AIW's social media. For crying out loud, join the email list. That's a big thing there. Spend a few bucks on Patreon if you have it. All of those things are ways to keep up to date. So go to AIWrestling.com if you want to join the email list. Follow us at AI Wrestling on all social media. And patreon.com/AIWrestling. It's all there. So, if you want to stay up to date on what we've got going, when shows are happening, because it's all going to come out quick, like John said, those are the places to do it. And other than that, hey, maybe we'll try to fill you in on more of what happened with our latest AIW show next week when we talk. For AIW owner John Thorne, my name is Steve Guy. We'll talk to you next time right here on The Card Is Going to Change.
Wildfire.